because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in culture. I think there's a lot of I don't know, conversations. I'm kind of amped up to get into some of the things that are going on. And kind of the first thing that I wanted us to talk about, which is not something that you will normally find me like at the water cooler talking about, and that is Coachella. So
Your
I'm not,
favorite thing
I,
ever.
I am not, that's not, as the kids would say, my scene. I'm not a Coachella kind of guy. But there was a lot of people were talking about it. One, because it's, I don't know, one of the biggest music festivals that there is. So there's always headlines and sort of a who's who of all the pop stars and celebrities, and uh, and people are either celebrating the performances or outraged at them or mad or somewhere in the middle. And so there's always conversations. But this one, even there were aspects of Coachella at least in the first weekend, that kind of I don't know, bled into the conversation for Christians, because we had our good our soon to be friend of the channel one day, J Biebs, Justin Bieber, and his performance, which I don't know, sparked some conversation. So I think just about the nature of celebrity and Christianity. So we will get into some of that. But I think you did follow more of Coachella than I did, because
Yeah.
you are more into that kind of stuff. So real quick, what were some of your thoughts of just sort of so far the festival in general?
I always get excited when just because I love live music, like even just watching it on YouTube, I just get excited about it. So I don't really follow any of the like political or spiritual or whatever kind of conversations that there are. I'm just like, ooh, look, a new performance that I can watch. But thinking about like Justin Bieber's performance, I guess we're gonna get into that a little bit later, but there was a lot of really cool stuff that happened. Carol G, I think, was the first Latina singer to headline Coachella, which is pretty cool. Her outfit was really really colorful, had really expressive backup dancers, and then do you know the song Havana?
I do not.
Okay, I don't know why I asked, but
Yeah, shocking to say, I do not, in fact, know
it
that
was
song.
pretty popular, but it's Young Thug and Camila Cabello. I always say Cabello, but I think it's Cabello. It's their collab, and they performed it for the first time together live, which is pretty cool. And then Jack White of the White Stripes fame, he opened on Saturday. And to me, it's really crazy to have like someone like Jack White be the opener, because the opener people aren't there for them; they're there for the headliner. But Jack White is like just so I guess prestigious is not the word, but just a really really popular, famous rock star, and he played Seven Nation Army. So I just was excited just because it's like an opportunity for more live music and stuff like that. But what were your thoughts? Why
Well,
do
see, they
you not feel the
why do
same?
I hate pop music? See, they needed. I think that was a ploy by them. If you just start off with sort of some rock and roll and some good stuff, then you sort of tease someone like me, and like, hey, maybe
A
there's more
millennial.
to Coachella than meets the eye, and then you realize there's not. In fact, more. So I mean, this is. I will say two things. One, I think it's just there's part of this that's just a me problem. I like metal music. I don't care about pop music. I don't know who any. I mean, I know who these people are, and I probably would recognize their songs, but I don't know enough to be able to like connect the song to the person. Like I hear,
Yeah.
I see them in the news, I hear their songs in like the mall or the store, but like I don't ever actively go out of my way to listen to this music. So there is a part of just like, hey, you know what? Not everything needs to be for me. There is Wacken, a German metal festival. Like there are things for people like me that, so there are things, and I don't think it needs to be for me. The other side of it is, I don't know. I think beyond just my personal like dislike and of the genre, or my preferences, I do think in some ways having, because I did go watch through a lot of these performances. I don't know. I'm with you that I love the live performance part. I also think that in some ways, some of these festivals sort of like, I don't know, they encapsulate the things that make me not like pop music. Like I find like half the female stars are just out there in their underwear. Half the male performers are just singing vulgar things that I are not edifying to women or men or people or whoever. A lot of
Dogs and
I
yeah.
don't I don't know, a lot of like ideology. Just a lot of like to me, it's just a lot of spectacle. Again, this comment maybe reflects both. It's probably too strong, and it reflects my preferences. But like to me, a lot of these pop stars are like more performers to me than they are artists. Like I don't know. I guess they put on a great show. There's a lot of spectacle. I don't feel the like authenticity, sincerity of their music. I don't think most of them don't even write their music. It's all about the show. It's very shallow lyrics. It's about how much spectacle can we have to like entice people and get them all excited with very little like beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Well, again, some of that's just my own preferences. Some of it I think is very valid. Like I think
No,
it is very
yeah.
much like an industry. Like I think like to me like and maybe we'll touch on her again later. Like to me like someone like Sabrina Carpenter
Mm-hmm.
is like the platonic ideal of what I see as like a modern pop star in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that like to me she's a product. Like she is very much, I don't think she's very talented, but like she is very much sort of the industry created, the spectacle,
Mm-hmm.
sort of a lot of things that I don't like.
Yeah, I think spectacle is a good word that to use here because that's, I think, like getting into kind of the Justin Bieber performance. That's why and I don't know how you thought about it. We'll talk about that in a second. But I loved Justin Bieber's performance. I was having a great time. His was my favorite that I saw, besides Jack White, obviously. Um, but I think it's because like all of the other performers had so much going on that I think because maybe they're not as talented or maybe that there's just not as much depth to it. And so it was hard to it just feels a little like brain rot. If you get bored looking at this dancer, you can look over at this dancer, then everything kind of just melds together. But with Justin Bieber, you really kind of have to sit there and like really focus on what's going on, which I really appreciated.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think again, I didn't watch as deeply through the performances as you did. Did watch J Beebs, a good Canadian boy. So we'll claim him for that. But there was this thing refreshed. Like I get criticisms again. If you didn't follow the thing at all, then maybe you
The
didn't miss out on a
thing,
whole lot. But the
Coachella.
thing, that thing that happened, that culture, pop music. Like his performance was a very stark contrast to like he brought out some like guests and stuff, but there wasn't just a lot of like huge sets and tons of dancers and lights and spectacle and like it wasn't this like big Broadway style performance. Like it really
Like
seemed to
Sabrina
be,
Carpenter's was.
yeah, like hers is very much, and I know she sort of leans into that. Like that
Yeah.
is sort of her like showgirl style. So I get that, but that is sort of this very stark contrast of just you got Bieber up there on stage and he's sort of singing and he's taking his time between songs and he's like watching old YouTube videos of himself and like singing along and just like talking with people like he's, I don't know, you can feel a more like intimate connection of like, hey, this is like a person. Like this isn't just some sort of distant, sort of manufactured appearance of a person. Like I know there is sort of that is part of his vibe, and it's all
Mhm.
performative in a way. But I don't know. Like you sort of saw, like there is like this is actually feels like a guy that these songs mean something to him, and the fans mean something to him. It's not just about the flash, and it's interesting because that's where a lot of like the controversy came from. Like as far as just the performance is like
Mhm.
people, it's boring. It's not like what is this? Like we sort of we're so conditioned to like want the spectacle. I think
Mhm.
in music and in life, like we just sort of want things big and flashy. We don't. I don't know. I think we get more uncomfortable with like quiet and
Yeah.
intimate and like a slowed down pace. It's like
Especially for a huge festival like this, like I guess that's one of my questions as we get deeper into this conversation. It's like, how do you balance what the people want and what they expect with what you feel most connected to or feels more important to perform? It's just because Justin Bieber was paid like $10 million for this performance, and he's just up there on his MacBook playing old YouTube videos. Like, is that right? If that's the right question. I don't know. But
I mean,
I
I
loved
would show some of
it.
my. I would happily sit up there showing people some collision YouTube videos.
Yeah.
For I would do it for 9 million. I would even cut them a
I
deal.
would do 8.75
But
too.
you think the price is right? Just get right under the. But I think the word, like you said, expectations. To me, that's where this conversation kind of. That's like the foundation of it, because I think you see that in the sense of just like the take out the spiritual side, it's just performance, the arts, music. You sort of see the expectations of, hey, we, pop music is big, it's flashy, it's stuff, and now we just have this guy up there, watching YouTube videos, wearing a hoodie, singing, talking, asking people what songs I want to hear. Like very much like counter against the kind of more intimate, kind of cutting through a lot of the stuff that I think is shallow and not good about the arts. The other part that I think makes kind of as far as expectations is when you sort of add back in the like the more faith component, because he did, and you actually wrote an article. We can maybe link that in the show notes. Like his performance is also notable because I mean, if you followed Bieber much, just his career, like even if you don't listen to his music, he's always in the news, and he's been on a journey. Like, I don't know, like I've always maybe it's just because he's Canadian. Like I have a bit of a soft spot for Justin Bieber. Like I think I get the I don't know. I'm willing to show him a bit of grace with the, like made some horrible decisions. I think he had some horrible guidance, stardom. Not that you excuse what he did, but I don't know. I think he's been on a journey, and you've seen growth, and he's been like open about that journey. I think that was even just a lot of the essence of his performance was like,
Mhm.
I'm on a journey, and we're gonna walk through my journey and talk about it and look at old where I came from, and very much sort of a part of who he is. And part of that journey has really since the start been faith. Like, and I think he's become more and more open about that. But I mean, like he's spoken openly often. Like he's posted, you know, Bible verses on his Instagram and talking about God and
Mhm.
aligning his life with God. Like he's not been shy about his faith, and he's taken a couple songs from his latest album, Swag, which I wouldn't have known other than reading it in your article. The which are very like I don't know, like I don't know if you would call them like a worship song, but
Oh,
like I don't know, they would qualify for like the old school sort of like Christian music in a way. Like
mhm.
it's very much spiritual about sort of faith. And I don't know. So you sort of have this contrast of like you have Coachella, you have a lot of the performances are flashy and vulgar and a lot of skin, a lot of bad words, a lot of bad ideologies. And then you have a sort of stripped down intimate performance where a guy is singing like essentially, you know, intimate worship songs
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
God. And I don't know. So you sort of have. I saw a lot of Christians sort of wrestling a bit with what do you do with that? Like, do we celebrate that? Are we cautious because he's Bieber and we know he has a history, or maybe he does some things that don't um, align. Like I know. Well, before we get into that, do you have any thoughts just on that? Like, just sort of
Mhm.
that tension? Because in some ways, you sort of when you're with your article and stuff, sort of stepped a bit into sort of that conversation.
Yeah, I in the article too, I think I said something about people like leaving in protest because there was some video that I saw before, and that's the reason I wrote it, of people walking out as he was singing his glory. It's called Glory Voice Memo. Is that what it's called? I
Yeah.
think. And so I was like, oh, that's why. A lot of people think that that's why people are leaving is because he was singing Christian music, which might be true, but it also just could be because they're upset that he's up there on his MacBook with virtually no set on the stage. Um, but I think that people, when it comes to celebrities and their faith, especially if they're very open about it, we either put way too much weight on them and on their testimony, or no weight whatsoever. And I'm just like, I don't know if either of them is right, if the middle is right. I don't know, because this is a person you don't even know. This is just a random
Yet.
man. That's right. We're gonna have him on one day. But I don't know, it just feels very disconnected, and I'm kind of indifferent, I think. It's really good to have, of course, people of faith in the public eye, but how much weight should we really be giving to them and their opinions and their testimonies and their what they do with their life, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't
because I think
know.
I think we do, and I'm kind of with you. Like, I've always been somewhat I don't know if apathetic's the right word. I don't know. I just don't. I've never been one that got really caught up in like stardom and famous people and like I don't know. There's to me they are just people. Maybe if I met him in real life, I'd be starstruck. I don't know, but to me, the fact that he's like a famous person, he's doing this. I think it's notable because it's a huge platform and people are talking about it. It becomes a cultural conversation, and that's where I
Yeah,
get
that's
interested.
good.
But the fact that that it's him, I don't know if that puts any more
Mhm.
weight. But I do feel like, and that's sort of what I've been thinking about with this performance too, is like we sort of treat them as like a totally separate category of person. Uh, we're
Yeah.
and there's different ways like we can do that, but I think we can kind of get caught up in same as like this Coachella at large, like just the spectacle of it. Like, okay, he is because we sort of want more than maybe, and we're not as willing to just accept sort of the more intimate, like personal. Because I think you either see like if we use Biebs as a case study, like you either see people that want to like elevate him as like look he culture was just we won the culture like
We
Christian
did it.
we did it we
Yeah.
got Justin Bieber's on stage Coachella and he's singing a
Uh-huh.
worship song like revival like
Yeah.
we have won take that
Uh-huh.
atheist like we got Bieber on our side and like just totally elevate him while looking past like again because it's not even just like okay well but when he was 13 he was caught peeing in a
When I
bucket at a
was
restaurant like
13. Yeah.
it's like okay
Wait,
there's
what
some of
is that a
that
true story or did you just make that up?
oh that's a true I don't know if he was 13 but that was a
What?
yeah
No.
some research for you definitely I mean he's had some low moments in his but he's also like a kid on the public stage with infinite money ad accountability so
Probably, yeah.
it's like
No, I won't say.
I'm willing to like whatever everyone has their story, their mistakes. I wanted to see like where are you now, but like where he is now, like because you can either focus on like okay, he sings some great worship songs, but he also sings some songs that I think like you wouldn't necessarily want like your to play on like the youth group soundtrack before
Yeah.
Wednesday night pep rally, like
That's yeah.
because
That
like I know
brings up
what are you gonna
oh, it's gonna be a completely we don't have to go into it, but that just brings up to mind for me like thinking about Christian films and stuff, like you wanna show reality and you wanna show true stories and not necessarily have them sanitized. And do we do the same thing for music? But also that there's a lot of speculation in that too on like what the musicians' intentions are, like what their desires are. I don't know. That's my life question right now.
yeah, and I mean, and I will say, to me, some of that comes down to even like, I think it's sort of we've sort of thankfully moved beyond it, but we had that like era where like pastors would like swear from the pulpit and stuff, and it's like we're speaking the language of the world, like we're gonna be raw and honest, and it's like, well, you know what, like
You know,
who
in
didn't do that? Like
Colossians.
Jesus didn't, like it's like there
Yeah.
is a sense that like yeah, Jesus spoke the language of the world in the sense that like he used cultural imagery and metaphors and stories and experiences to relate to his audience despite being
Mhm.
from heaven but he wasn't just being vulgar and like to try and like feel like he fit in
Mhm.
but like speaking of because there is like earlier in his set if you only tuned in for the worship song you're like this is like Passion City Conference Christian festival if you tuned in earlier you're like no this is still Coachella because like at least like the one song that stood out to me is like Sweet Spot, which if you don't know the song
I didn't see that one,
oh
yeah.
go I won't read the lyrics here go read the lyrics if you so choose or just take my word for it that very vulgar guest star Sexy Red which again I don't know who this person is and a lot the most vulgar part is her contribution to the song but I mean sexually explicit vulgar language whole songs about sex and having sex and satisfying each other sexually um so you sort of have like the sense that okay well he sang the worship song he also sang these songs
Yeah.
this isn't like an old thing he did when he was 12 like this is something he
Mhm.
did now
Mhm.
a recent song that he is on the album that he just as the worship songs so you sort of have that and I think to me that's where the tension comes of like either you elevate
Yeah.
him as like well he's definitely we want him as our champion and he says some stuff we
Yeah.
don't like but like he's famous so we want that or you sort of have the like the other side of that of like well
Yeah.
we sort of want the spectacle in the other way of like okay well we sort of want perfection like we don't
Yeah.
want if he's going to be our champion whether he wants it or not like he better he better align very
Mhm.
much with like what our expectations of like
Mhm.
you know a pastor at our church on a Sunday morning and I don't know for me kind of both of those there are sort of issues with both of those, but I think both are also valid. Like I think there is just an unknown, I don't know, there is a tension there. Because I think even, and then I can get some of your thoughts too, but like I know Russell Brand, who's like a Christian, he's
Mhm.
proclaiming Christian
The
now, a
British
comedian,
guy, or is
British
he?
guy, comedian.
Is he
Uh,
British?
he's something because
He's
he has he,
something.
because he has the I don't know
He's English, yeah.
yeah, he has the British accent. Like he has a new book coming out in like 3 weeks or something, called "How to Become a Christian in 7 Days," which is like, oh, that's cool. He's a celebrity. The subtitle for that book is "May Take 50 Years of Sin and Serious Blank Ups to Get Started." So it's like, hey, maybe we don't want to put that front
That's
facing in
so
our
interesting, yeah.
um. And I don't know, and I mean, there's just stuff about his life and other things that it's like, well, he's a celebrity. He's very outspoken about his faith, but there's also a lot of other things swirling around his life and accusations and
Yeah.
his that conduct. That's like, what do we do with people like that, or with Bieber, where it's like, do we just sort of, okay, anyone that's sort of famous and a Christian, we want them because we want the spectacle, or do we like sort of treat them differently? And well, we want perfection, and they, how dare they? Surely he can't be a Christian if he says those words. Meanwhile, like, half the church men at church are addicted to pornography according to like statistics. It's like, do we treat them separately? What do we do with some of that? I don't know. Like some of your, I know there's some Bible verses too. I can share, but like, what do you think about some of that tension of, I don't know, like how do we how should a Christian sort of approach that, these types of people, if you will?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just how much weight are you giving to them? Like, you feel like this is somebody that you know, but you don't have a relationship with them, and we tend to forget that. It's like, if I mean, everyone is a sinner, and of course, you need to repent of your sin. I don't know. It's confusing in my brain on how to deal with that, because we shouldn't treat them like they're special, or treat them like they're perfect, or demand perfection from them, because we're not doing that with our spouse, or with ourselves, um or our parents or friends, you know? It's like, I think we just need to kind of take a chill pill. Take a step back and be like, "Wait a second. This person is not Jesus. Why am I demanding perfection from them? Why am I really demanding anything from them, to be honest, if I don't know them?" But that gets into a whole other rabbit hole that we can talk about
Yeah, because there
another
is,
day.
because there is a sense of like two verses. Because I think there's valid things to be said on both sides. Like two verses, like Matthew 7:3-5 is the whole like, you're looking at a speck in their eye, you got a plank in your eye. Like essentially, like, the we're all sinners thing. Don't pretend like don't hold them to a different standard than you're even holding yourself to. Like, except we're all sinners. And I think that is very much, I mean, at the heart of, like, there are plenty of other verses and teachings from Jesus that hammer home that point. Like, that is very valid. But like, they're also, especially in like more of the Paul's letters, like Corinthians 5:12-13 says, like, what business is it of mine to judge those outside the church? Are you not to judge those inside? God will judge those outside. And then there's a quote, expel the wicked person from among you. And like the whole point of that thing is like, hey, don't worry about what the world's doing. Like, that's, God will take care of that. Like, but like those that are among your body, like those that are Christian, like, yeah, like hold each other accountable. Don't allow ungodliness within the body. Like, I mean, like, and there's other parts that are pretty, pretty direct, like almost shockingly like aggressive as far as like, get them out of there. Like, if you're gonna
Mhm.
have like, that kind of goes against some of the grain as far as the like, who am I to judge? It's like, well, yes, don't be judgmental, but like
Mhm.
the idea that like as Christians we, because again, like, I think if if someone was just like in our church and a prominent person in our church and they like constantly walked around talking vulgar and sexual and like, we'd probably like take issue with that and call them
They'd
out and
probably
like,
be fired.
it's like, and we wouldn't see that as being wrong. Like, we'd say, hey,
Yeah.
that's not a conduct that's appropriate. Like, God's
Yeah.
called it. But if it's like on the stage of Coachella, it's like, well, yeah, but like, I don't know, we're not perfect. It's, I feel like the only thing that makes it different is that that person's a celebrity. Like,
Well, and
and
we don't know him personally either.
we
Like
don't know them personally. Like, I think
that's I
they're,
think the key
uh,
difference
but
too.
I do think there is a sense that like we don't know them personally, but like the conduct, I don't know. Like, I'm not sure how you would what explanation I guess would be needed to like not justify, but like, oh, that's what that sexually explicit song was about. I get why you wrote that. And it's like, well, I don't know. Like, I think it is there. Like, it's not hard to dissect. So I don't know. I think there is, and again, I don't think we have, and we can move on. But like, I don't think there is an easy answer. Like, as
Mhm.
far as which is what makes it always, it's always going to be kind of an unsolved question that, because we don't know them, because God is the judge, because we sort of want them to be authentic, and we shouldn't expect perfection, but we also shouldn't, I don't know, we shouldn't like excuse sin and like things that are not Christ-like just
Mhm.
because they're famous. Like, that's being seduced by the spectacle as well, and just, well, as
Mhm.
long as they're famous, they can be different. Like, they're from Hollywood. What do you expect? And it's like, well, no, like they're part of the family of God, and like
Yeah.
that is our family,
Yeah.
even if we don't know them personally. It's like there is sort of some of that. I do think for
Yeah.
me, I don't know, for me the part we can control is just our own hearts with that. Like, we can't, I don't know, like I don't necessarily care. Like, I'm fine to leave it up to God and those close to a guy like Bieber to know the
Mhm.
sincerity of his faith. Like, it's not up for me to, um but I do think I can control how much stock I put in that, and like how much I allow myself to be swept up in like the spectacle of either just sort of always drawn to any Christian that's famous because they're famous, or else feeling like
Yeah.
very self-righteous of like, well, I sin all the time, but like he's famous, so he can't sin. He's got to be perfect,
Mhm.
and I own him.
That
I don't know.
pressure's gotta be
Yeah.
insane too.
Like, I don't know. I think we can control that, but I do think it is a valid question. And I think these sort of things like Bieber or Russell Brand, or I mean, there's tons of these things seems to be happening all the time. Um, at least raises good questions that Christians should think about, even if there isn't necessarily a solid answer.